Hello, welcome everyone to Home Office Hours Live with Vistaprint. Thank you so much for joining us today. If this is the first time you're tuning in, Home Office Hours is a series of live discussions we put together on timely topics, featuring guest speakers and our very own Vistaprint team members. We know that small business needs have changed during these times, and we wanted to help, so we created this series as a way to connect and share advice. We're teaming up on this episode with Alignable, the small business referral network. Alignable is the online network where small business owners across North America can drive leads and prospects, generate referrals, land new business, build trusted relationships, and share great advice. Members use Alignable to get the industry answers they need and connect with their local business community or across the country and increase the buzz for their business. So this all makes Alignable the perfect partner to help us bring our Vistaprint customers and Alignable members an episode about how you can build your network of like-minded small business owners, even when you can't meet in person like these times right now. So today we have with us two very active Alignable members. We have Brooke, who has done some great work around masterminds and virtual networking, and she has a whole wealth of tips and information for small business owners. And she actually is one herself. Sue, can you say hello?
Hello, I'm here. Thank you.
We also have Jane Maulucci, who runs a communication consulting business for small business owners. Jane, can you say hi?
Hey, how you doing? Happy to be here today. Thanks for inviting us.
So happy to have you. And we also have returning panelist Viv Yau. She is the founder of Be Influence, an inclusive and diverse influencer marketing agency. Viv is both a small business owner herself and the lead on Vistaprint's UK influencer marketing campaigns. Viv, can you say hello?
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So today, as mentioned, we're talking about online networking as small business owners. A couple of housekeeping items before we jump right into it. We're going to take questions at the end of the session, but definitely feel free to submit your questions all throughout. You can use the Q&A button if you're joining us on Zoom. Use the comment function if you're joining us on the Facebook live stream. And finally, the recording will be available on Vistaprint's YouTube channel later today, and it will also be emailed out to Zoom registrants. So let's hop into it now. So let's take a moment first to start out and talk about your respective businesses. Viv, I said that you are a returning panelist, but for those who haven't been on Home Office Hours before or maybe missed that episode, refresh our memories about Be Influence. How did you get started and what do you do there?
Of course, so I'm the founder of an influencer marketing agency and talent management agency based in Manchester in the UK. And we work with clients like Vistaprint on creating and executing influencer marketing campaigns. And we very much value diversity and inclusion in everything that we do, from the talent that we represent through to the suppliers that we work with. We're a small startup company, so as well as working with other small business owners and their brands, we are also a small business ourselves. So I'm the owner of a small business, and I used to do a lot of face-to-face networking, but obviously that isn't happening as much. And aside from the business, I've also been doing a lot of online networking through petitioning and campaigning for how the media represent East and Southeast Asian people, which, as you can imagine, involves a lot of online networking. And in my spare time, I also host a podcast called But Where Are You From?, which is basically about my life as a British-born Chinese person. And it's been really helping me network and find my community online.
Awesome. Well, you are busy, so I'm glad that you're taking the time to join us today. Definitely happy to have you back. And from our work with you, I know already, obviously, that you're constantly seeking other businesses to connect with, just like Sue and Jane. So Sue, can you tell us about your small business story?
Sure. I started my very first business when I was about 22 years old, right out of college. I went to school to be an elementary school teacher, and I ended up starting my first business, which was a ballroom dance studio back a long time ago. Well, I was much younger then. My claim to fame is an educational learning center that I started literally out of my living room back in 1998. I sold and I grew it into a big business with 2 locations down in Southern California. And then I sold it in 2015. And then in 2017, I learned that I had a sister through Ancestry.com. That was pretty exciting. And so I moved to Northern California to be with her and get to know her. I didn't know one single person when I moved here. And my heart and passion is for small business. I absolutely love helping small business owners stop spending so much time and money on things that aren't moving the needle forward in their business. So I like to find the right tools and resources to help them. And by moving up here and not knowing anyone, I created a networking system that works amazing for me. And so I teach that now. And I also host masterminds, which I believe every small business owner should be a part of a mastermind group. So that's what I do.
Awesome. Well, that is such an interesting story and such a brave move to head out where you know no one and to build your network there. Definitely impressive. So Jane, how about you?
Well, for me, I'm an Air Force veteran. I worked as a broadcast journalist for the American Forces Network in Germany. And then when I came back to the States, I continued working as a soft news journalist and also a voice actor. And so I was doing that on the side while I worked corporate for sales, marketing, and training. And then when I came down to North Carolina, I'm a Connecticut native, and that's why you don't hear that Southern accent. When I moved to North Carolina, I decided to just go all in on my freelance work and my voice work. And what I did was I took all the things that I learned from working in corporate and I turned them into the baseline for my business. And once it started working, I said, gee, other people should know about this. And I connected with the small business center at our community college and started doing trainings there. And from there, I wrote a book about it called You Can Make a Living at That. And so I'm still doing training and still teaching people how to think big for their small business by thinking more like a corporation, but still keeping those small business connections and those small business values. So
Love
that's
that book
my story. Pardon me?
I said I love that book title.
I do too.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all for setting the stage and letting our audience know the perspective that you're coming from in this conversation. So let's jump into networking. People are definitely scared by networking. I think it's something that intimidates a lot of people, and certainly it was hard enough for many of us even before the pandemic. So let's help our viewers and tell them why they shouldn't be intimidated by networking online and how they can still be effective in making those connections. Sue, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, so right before the pandemic, of course, I was moved up here. I didn't know a single person. And so I was out there. I just made a decision that I figured out that I wanted to meet business owners. So I went to every single networking group that I could possibly find, chamber mixer, meetup, just everything. And then as soon as this hit, it was amazing. The world just opened up. So we have such an amazing opportunity right now to go out there and meet people all over the entire world. So what I have found is there are tons and tons of online networking groups. There are Facebook groups. There's all kinds of groups that you can join, and then you can take those people that you meet there that are your avatars that you want to meet in the first place, and then take it offline and meet them one-on-one. So yeah, it's to me, this is an amazing opportunity for so many businesses to take their business and, like Jane, as she said, think bigger, go wider with your audience. So
Yeah, I really appreciate that positive outlook. I think going online definitely gives the opportunity to go broader. Jane, how about you? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with Sue. You know, coming down to a new part of the country and just even when you're just starting a new business, you've still got to network because you don't know who knows what you need to know. And so by networking, you just get to learn great things about other people. And then you can also ask them, who do you know? Who do you know that can help me with my bookkeeping? Who do you know that is the best supplier for whatever it is you're looking for? Who do you know that can teach me how to do sales? These are great things to find out when you're networking, aside from finding out what that other person does and who you might be able to connect them to. So it's a fantastic opportunity. And even for introverts, it's possible.
That's awesome. I love that. Really thinking of not just what the people you're speaking with know, but who do they know and what do those people know?
Right.
That's really a great way to keep expanding. Viv, anything to add here?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I take a lot from what Sue and Jane have said in terms of just doing it, just going for it. I know when I certainly started my business, I was very afraid of networking. You know, I always worked in companies where I hadn't really had needed to do it to that capacity. But I think when you're a small business owner, you are very much the brand of your own company. You know, you are at the forefront. And so I had to really push myself to go out there. And I think one of the best things that I found was not to drag someone along with me when we could go to networking events, but to go by myself, because if you are by yourself, you are forced to have to speak to people. You know, you can't just stay with your group of friends. But in terms of online networking, you know, it doesn't just have to be video calls. It can also be online. You know, I've made a lot of friends just through social media. So just networking and engaging with people on Instagram, on WhatsApp groups. There's a lot of value within communities, within social platforms in that way. So if you are new to online networking, don't just see it as one kind of video call that you have to like talk on for, you know, hours on end. It can just be a case of interacting with other people's posts, replying back to direct messages. All of these things help with relationship building. And if you do a networking event where it requires video call, then the great thing is you don't have to travel to it. You can wear your sweatpants. So that takes out a lot of the nervousness that I think comes with networking.
That's great. Thank you. There's definitely a lot of different ways that you can build relationships online. So those examples are really helpful. So let's talk about tone online. It can be tough in writing. So Jane, talk to us a little bit about what your communication style should be when you're trying to connect online.
Well, if you're writing things online, you really want to choose your words carefully. And Viv and I have talked about this too with Sue. You want to make sure that you're avoiding humor because it doesn't always translate in text. And when you are online in a video chat like this, you want to be enthusiastic. If you kind of look dopey and sleepy and like you didn't even care that you just fell out of bed, people are going to think, oh, that's probably not somebody I want to communicate with. It's not somebody I want to make a connection with. So really think about what you're saying and who you're speaking to, no matter where it is, whether it's in print or live on a camera.
Very helpful. Thank you. And I think last time we were talking, you called that face TV face.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit blank. I love that phrase. Definitely brings it home and creates a visual of what you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, that TV face is when you're just watching a bad sitcom. And that's what you end up doing. And then everybody in the room is like, oh, wow, it's too bad. Whatever happened to them? Not somebody I want to know.
Definitely something to avoid. Thank you. So
I want to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to piggyback on that, because what I've found is when you are positive and enthusiastic and you look like you're having fun, people are really drawn to you and people want to meet you. And so for introverts, like you were saying, Jane, introverts a lot of them have a hard time. I was an introvert, honestly. So I have a whole networking for introverts presentation. But when you're online now, if you smile and you're happy and you're enthusiastic and especially positive, just make sure that whatever you're doing online is positive. Stay away from any negative stuff. And people will be drawn to you. And I found that people reach out and say, you look like you're just doing so well. I'd like to get to know you better. And so that makes it easy for people to approach you as well. I love you said that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Very actionable tip. Go ahead, Viv.
I totally agree that sometimes text can be misconstrued. I mean, it depends what type of texter you are, but I know certainly some people communicate much better verbally or face to face. So if you are that type of person where you struggle with writing and being able to get across emotion in a certain way, then voice notes are brilliant. I think some people find it a bit strange that I voice note constantly, but I think it gets across the nuances in what you're trying to say. So don't be afraid of sending a voice note once in a while.
Of course, we did used to call that a phone call, but
Yeah.
There's that option too.
There is that option too, just to pick up the telephone. But actually, I think some people are really afraid of the telephone, aren't they? In terms of kind of just making day-to-day business calls, I think
Yeah.
it can be really daunting for a lot of people. And so perhaps voice notes are like the step down from that.
I think phone calls have
Voice
just
notes and
become,
then phone call.
yeah. I think the phone call has become something really intimate. You only do that with people that you're very, very close to, because anybody else you're bothering. So that's why a text or a voice text or an email is sort of like, I'll just slip this in there and they'll get to see it, and I'm still connected with them.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I also think it depends on the recipient as well. Like I know certain people who absolutely hate phone calls, and so I will prefer to email them or text them, whereas I know certain people will not even read my emails at all, and like they are a phone person through and through. And so adapting the way you communicate with certain people is really important too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's so important. Thank you. So I think this would be a good place. Sue, you already alluded to it a little bit, talking about how the pandemic has changed things for your business and your ability to network. Can you start us off and talk a little bit about how you've adapted? And then Viv and Jane will talk a little bit with you too as well and see how you've changed things.
Right. So, it's interesting because right before the pandemic, I was really starting to try to set up a lot of in-person meetings, and it was really hard to get people to show up, and that was a big problem with so many people would say, I'm trying to set up these meetings and no one will show up. So now it actually became easier for people just to, it doesn't matter what you're wearing below, you got to put a nice shirt on and put a little makeup on and you'll be good to go. So it's easier for people. Yeah. And so that to me, it's just opened up the world. Like that is amazing. I have a friend, Sherry, who she does holistic healing, and she was putting on in-person healing fairs, and she found out that people were having a really hard time with what's going on, what happened, especially at the beginning. And she immediately put on a global healing fair virtually, and it just changed everything. She was just doing everything local. Now she's opened it up to the world, and her business is just exploding. And it makes me so sad, the people that are really stuck and they're not seeing that this is an opportunity that can grow their business. So I'm seeing so many people just open up their minds and talking to people and connecting with people. The masterminds that I'm doing on Fridays, everyone's invited to come, has really helped connect people and open their minds to new ideas. So to me, it's been a blessing to many, many people. So.
Absolutely. I think as many doors that have closed, there's still so many opportunities right now that are coming up as a result of this.
Yeah.
Viv, how about you? How has your business changed? How have you adapted your approach to networking with all of this?
Yeah, I mean, mine's changed quite drastically, to be honest. So I was very much a face-to-face networking person. I'd go to quite a few networking events a month. And I think like most people, when it came to the UK going into lockdown and during the pandemic, I threw myself into a lot of online networking events. And I think that trend has kind of faltered off just slightly in terms of the amount that we were seeing originally. So from a work perspective, it's certainly shifted in terms of how I do network. I think for me now, it's a case of really arranging meaningful one-to-one video calls or phone calls with people or voice notes, having a purpose for each meeting and seeing what value can really be offered in exchange. And I think, like Sue said, like I have found my community of people through not just work, but through doing petitioning and campaigning all over the world. You know, there is a community for everything. If you like crocheting, if you like cats, there's a big community for cats out there, but there's anything. Like if you like anything, then there will be a community out there for you. And that's what's really opened my eyes in terms of online networking and just how special it can be, because it truly is globalized and it doesn't stop you from meeting anyone, essentially.
Truly, there is a space for everyone online.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually an introvert. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm really enjoying being in my little room and doing, work here. But one of the great things about it is that I connected with other people who happen to be writers, which, is kind of a typecasting. But from that, I connected with a person in South Dakota who needed their book read and recorded. So you just don't know who you're going to tie up with, and you do get to find your tribe all over the place. So you just keep reaching out. It's pivoted my business also. Instead of doing face-to-face training situations, I am doing things online, but I'm really loving not having to commute. So that's going for the networking too. I get to connect with all kinds of people all over the world, and you know, I'm not booking flights and driving my car. So I'm good with this.
Great, totally agree. All right, so I will take us over to questions in just a minute. Before we do that, and I just want to call out, we already have lots of questions, so keep them coming. We'll take them in just a couple more minutes. But first, let's go through just a couple of quick hit tips. Can you give us your top tips on networking online, whether it's during a pandemic or not? Jane, let's start with you.
Well, I'd go back to that enthusiasm thing. That's really, really important. But even more so than that, pay attention. Look like you're interested. I know sometimes you're not, but still look like you're interested, and be reactive to the people that are speaking, because it helps them as well. And if you're leading one of these groups, it can be really daunting if you're noticing people dozing off. So figure out a way to get involved, look good, you know, just from the waist up. Wash your face, comb your hair, put on a nice shirt, you know, and make sure what's behind you isn't ugly. It can, you know, just clean up a little bit so that you look like you're actually engaged and want to be involved.
Absolutely. Thank you. Viv, how about you? Any quick hit tips before we go over to the questions?
Yeah, I think it's basically what I was saying in terms of just considering online networking as being way more than just Zoom calls, but just engaging on social networks, chat groups. These are all really vital steps in relationship building too. And also put yourself out there. So don't be the one to wait for other people to invite you to something, but consider creating something yourself. If you have the, you know, the capacity to, then consider arranging calls, setting up Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, and take that initiative. If you want to find your own community, then you are very much empowered to do that. It's just all you need is the internet, and that's it.
Love that. Be proactive.
That's great.
How about you, Sue? I see
Oh
you.
my gosh. Number one is build relationships. Take it away from, if you're in a big group, like say an online networking group or whatever, and you connect, you see certain people you want to connect with, take it offline and meet them and be genuinely interested in them. I heard this most amazing story the other day about what happened was they took this group of people and they put them on a plane and they said, you're going to sit by a seatmate and you are all we want you to do is ask them questions about themselves. Just keep asking them, what's your name? What do you do? You know, tell me about your family, and be really interested in them. And if they ask you a question, answer it, but always take it back to them. And when they got off the plane, after this certain amount of time of doing that, they asked the seatmate, the person, well, what did you think about the person sitting next to you? And they said, oh my gosh, they were the most interesting person I've ever met. And they said, what were their name? And they said, I don't know. What did they do? I don't know. And so it's just all these questions. They had no idea about that person, but they were the most interesting person. So when I heard that story the other day, it was like, oh my gosh, just be interested in them. Do never make it about you. Make it about them. They will see you as this most amazing person, and they'll want to connect with you. They'll want to refer you. And the second tip that I think is a huge tip is follow up. You know, I met a lot of people and then I never hear from them again. So I created the system sending cards. I'm a huge, obviously you can see behind me, I'm a huge card sender. So I have a system where I meet people and I immediately send them a thank you card. Thank you for taking time out of your day for meeting me. It was so nice meeting you. I can't wait to talk to you again, etc. And so I have a system that I use for that. And it works amazing. And I've made friends all over the world. So definitely be interested in them. Never make it about you, because I promise if you keep asking them questions, eventually they're going to say, well, tell me about you. How can I help you? And there you've got your raving fan. So, you know, I guess that's two of my biggest tips right there.
Awesome. Thank you.
I love that tip. It is true though, that, you know, I certainly love talking about myself. It's not, you know, we all do. And I think it's when someone kind of really pays attention to that, then it makes you feel like they're a nice and interesting person because of it. It's really interesting.
It's so true. Right, so we have 5 minutes here. So we're going to take questions for these 5 minutes. We will, let's see, I'll pull these up right here. Just a reminder, if you're on Zoom, you use the Q&A button to submit your question. If you're on Facebook, just add those comments there and we will get those in the Zoom. Let's see. So this question is coming in from Facebook Live. Sorry, there's many comments in here. So some you, Sue, yes, agreed from one of your points earlier, sharing some positive feedback here. So there are so many events. How do you decide which to attend? I think this question is especially relevant because now there's even more online events. So the question is, there are so many events. How do you decide which to attend? I have found many, but don't have my avatar, and sometimes find that people are selling versus networking. Viv,
Yeah.
maybe you can start us with this one because I know that you mentioned that you've been going to tons and tons of events. So what's your take on this one? Then we can go around the rest as well.
Yeah, so in terms of, sorry, can you just repeat the first part of the question?
Yes, so there are so many events, and how do you decide which to attend?
Okay, well, I mean, it depends on what you're interested in. You know, what are your passions? What things do you like learning about? What small business do you own? Are there any like-minded businesses that are out there? Is it a regional event that you're looking to get involved in, or is it something much bigger? What are you trying to learn? You know, I think it's asking yourself these questions first can help shape in terms of like what type of event you want to attend. For me personally, I like events about leadership and about inclusivity and diversity, and those are the types of events that I like. But I think it's very much a case of just asking yourself the question, what do you enjoy and what do you care about, and then finding out what's out there essentially.
Great advice.
I'm going to jump in here too, because I think, yes, there's so many, and I hear the whole I'm zoomed out, you know, I've heard that a million times. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, not another one. So start your own, create your own group, you know, think of the kind of like your avatar that you definitely want to meet or be around, whether it would be a potential referral partner for you or a potential client, and create your own. I do a mastermind every Friday, and I'm attracting people from all over, and then those people are connecting with the ones they want to. So masterminds are great. SueBrooke.com/Vistaprint. I went ahead and put a link. You can all join that, but definitely do your create your own groups. That's my big tip.
Awesome, thank you. Jane,
I agree with creating your own group is marvelous. I mean, I have a mastermind group that I am part of, that I've been a part of for a number of years now. But I also find that when you are overwhelmed with all those choices of this event and that event, another Zoom call, you've really got to look at it and say, okay, where's my time best invested? And that's what Viv was saying, is that does this work for you? Is it something you're going to enjoy? Is it something you're going to learn? Are these people that you want to know? Is it information that you absolutely think you should have? And what are you balancing it against? So is there something else that you should be doing for your business? Because you can also just end up Zooming all the time without really taking care of the other stuff that you need to do in your business, like your social media, like connecting with people in other means other than just online and on camera.
Yeah.
Great advice all, thank you. Our next question, are any of the three of you using WhatsApp groups to network? Viv, I think you may have mentioned it. Sue, Jane, how about you?
I have WhatsApp. I haven't used it for networking yet.
Okay.
It's
So
a pretty new thing. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Maybe you can take this one then. So the question is, where do you find WhatsApp groups to network with?
I have been invited to particular WhatsApp groups that are within my community of people campaigning for the similar things or advocating for similar things. So someone set them up, and it's people from all over the world, I think, in terms of campaigning for fairer East and Southeast Asian representation. So I've just found them through people referring me into them, and it's certainly a very, very new thing, and I've had to put my phone on mute because sometimes the WhatsApp groups can go off constantly. But it's certainly been a very, very good networking group in terms of very, very quick ideas, just sharing stories and being there for each other in certain ways. You know, I think that's been really, really useful for for a lot of people during that time, it's just having that community as close as your WhatsApp, you know. It's literally accessible by like at your fingertips. And so it's certainly a new thing for me in terms of online networking. I never really considered it like that before, but it absolutely is a form of online networking. And I've done business on there as well. In fact, you know, I found suppliers that I've wanted to work with from these WhatsApp groups too. So you just never know where you're going to find, you know, your next client or supplier that you might want to work with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm seeing lots of questions, Sue, come in about masterminds. For the audience, you very clearly are all looking to learn a little bit more about what this is. We will be sending a link out in the email, and there is actually a link that's pinned to the top of the Facebook comments right now, if you're joining us on the Facebook Live. But Sue, I'll give you just a second here if you can tell us a little bit more about masterminds, and then everybody, there will be a link, and you'll be able to access it after as well.
Yes, basically a mastermind is different from a networking group. A networking group, people get on, they do their 30-second elevator pitch or whatever you want to call it. And then it's just that. It's like almost going there to sell things to other people. Whereas a mastermind is more your group of it, your advisory board. So when we do our masterminds at the Mastermind with Sue, people get a hot seat. They get to ask a question, what they need help with, and then everybody gets to be the expert and help them with their question. We're not trying to sell anything to anybody. It's totally not about that. It's about helping each other. And that's why things like Alignable is all about referrals and about getting to know each other and helping each other. So I think that's a huge networking tip, is be around people and think about meeting people that are potentially new friends and referral partners rather than trying to sell everybody everything. Right. So that's the difference between a mastermind group. But yeah, mastermindwithsue.com. You can come and join us on Fridays and just see what it's like. It's like a little example of a mastermind. It's very fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, we'll send that link out in the follow-up email, and it's pinned in the comments right now on Facebook. One question that actually builds on something that you were just talking about, Sue. How did you use Alignable most successfully? Do you have any tips?
Yes, it's all about connecting with people. And, you know, it's with anything. It's Alignable. Any of your social media platforms, when someone reaches out or adds you as a friend or whatever, make sure that you follow up with them and say, hey, I would love to learn more about your business. And again, be interested in them, make it about you. And so yeah, with Alignable, it's a very good way to connect with the right person and get to know them, and then you can refer them once you get to know them. So that's how I use it.
Jane, how about you? I know you're very active there as well.
Yeah, I've used Alignable, and I've recruited people to Alignable because I love the fact that it is a small business network. And that's a huge help for anybody that's, you know, just getting started or has been in business for a while and really needs to have that network to support them. And the thing that I love most about Alignable is the referrals, because you get to refer people and you get to talk about the people that you know, like, and trust and the wonderful things they can do. And it really helps support everybody. You're supporting the whole network in your area and beyond. And I just think that Alignable is really a phenomenal resource for small business owners, because you really can make great connections through the system, answering questions, giving referrals, and just looking up who else can supply the things that you need for your business.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. So I know that we're a couple of minutes over. One more question that I've seen come in quite a number of times. Viv, what is a voice note?
A voice note is literally just recording your voice and then sending it as a text message. So instead of writing it, you record the sound of your voice. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know whether anyone else can.
Well, everyone will just need to try it.
I understood it. I do it.
Try it. Everyone should try it. Send a voice note to someone.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we are going to wrap up for the day, and we like to end these by asking our panelists what their final thought is from the discussion. So I'll go around. Jane, let's start with you. What would be your one big takeaway that you want everyone to walk away with?
Keep reaching out. Because even if we are locked in these little rooms, just keep reaching out. Do it online, you know, through your social media, do it through these video chats, sending a note, whatever. That's how you keep and refine your connections and make sure that everybody is moving forward. And I think that's one of the most important things. We need to work to support each other, especially those of us in small businesses.
Thank you. Viv, how about you? Final thought?
Yeah, of course. I think time is obviously really important at the moment. Obviously, a lot of us are still stuck indoors, but be respectful of everyone's time and be mindful that we're surviving a pandemic. So prioritize your health, your mind, your body, and your happiness over kind of anything else, really.
Absolutely. Thank you. And how about you, Sue? A final thought to leave everyone with?
Yes, just, stay positive and think about making new friends. You can make new friends all over the world that you would have never had the chance to do without this. And, just appreciate people, love on people, send out kindness, and just be a great person, and people will be attracted to you.
Thank you so much to all three of you for joining us and taking the time today. Really appreciate you sharing your wealth of knowledge with our audience.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
So we are going to be hosting these regularly. For those of you who have been joining us on Tuesdays, you know that already, but for those of you who are new, we will be holding the next discussion on September 15th, and we're going to be talking about word of mouth marketing. We definitely want everybody's help for topics that we should cover. There's a survey at the end and in the Facebook comments. Let us know what you want to hear. You can also send suggestions to homeofficehours@vistaprint.com. And for more online networking information, you can check out alignable.com. Sign up to be a member if you haven't yet. And you can also find more small business resources and tips at vistaprint.com/hub. And finally, if you registered on Zoom, check your email tomorrow. You'll get the recording and more helpful links. But you can also check out our YouTube channel in the meantime. The recording should be up there by the end of the day today. So this has been Home Office Hours Live. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and we'll talk with you soon.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye.